Welcome, everyone. My name is Andrew. I'm the lead pastor here at The Crossing, and I'm so glad you're joining with us this week. We are carving out some time today to celebrate. We want to celebrate everyone in our community who has taken a step recently. For you, it might have been reaching out to a neighbor. Others of you making a difference in our community, or maybe jumping into a small group and getting serious about your faith and going through Rooted. Some of you have made the decision recently to use your resources to advance the message of Jesus and bring hope. So today, our service is for you. And if you want more encouragement and help connect with us online, go to thecrossing.com and get on our mailing list or subscribe to our pages. Now, on that note, I want to encourage you to take a moment and share and like this video. Now, to kick off today in our celebration, I want to highlight Love Costa Mesa, a time where so many people from our church came together and served our city of Costa Mesa. So enjoy this video and then a message from our teaching pastor, Justin Chandler. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, my name is Leticia Hernandez, and we are here for Love Costa Mesa. Well, we are preparing some meals for homeless. You know, like the Lord said, I have not come to be served, but to serve. And that's exactly what we're doing here, to serve the community. Well, with these bags of food, we're gonna pass them out to the community and, bless them with God's love, because that's what God has called us to be. Love, give love to the ones that are in need.
My name is Justine Pelmore. I'm the Executive Director at Stand Up for Kids Orange County, and we're here at our main office today in Costa Mesa and are part of Love Costa Mesa. We have 5 projects today. We have a painting project. We have one of the offices being painted. We have a gardening project out front. We had a food drive, and we had a group erect a movable storage out in our backyard. The garden is to beautify our office. We used purple because those are our colors, and to make it look homey, because we are not like a social service agency. We're like family to our kids, so we want it to look as homey as possible.
Hi, I'm Ralph Hewlett, and I'm a neighbor to my good friend Dick Schulman, who's been here since the 70s. He moved here a long time ago. What we're doing here today at his property is upkeeping his entire outside area. The idea is to beautify his property, to make it look great again. He's overwhelmed and can't do it all by himself, so he needs a lot of help. And we have some wonderful volunteers that just really jumped in. Over 10 or 12 people have showed up, and other people that didn't even sign up on the website who just wanted to be a part of it. So the enthusiasm is awesome. And what are they enthusiastic about? Why are we doing this? Well, it's to show people in our community that other people care about them. People matter to other people, and people matter to God. And that's really a crucial thing, because this past 12 months has been difficult for people to interact and have that momentum, have that feeling going on, that reality. So we're creating that reality, and it's just amazing to see it happen as it moves forward. A lot of things have just kind of happened because people have shown up. They say, I want to be a part of this, make a positive difference. And so I'm glad, and they're laughing, they're working together and doing teamwork and showing that people can do amazing things when they come together and make a positive difference. So that's what it's all about, and that's why we're doing this. And I'm so glad that people are jumping in. I'm really proud of every team in Love Costa Mesa, no matter what they're doing or where they are. So thank you for helping us be a part of it today.
What's up, TC? How you feeling? As you're viewing online, you can jump in the chat or comments. I'd love to know how you're doing as you're watching today. Jump on in, type a little something. Being active in the comments is one of the best ways to be a part of our online service. If we haven't met yet, my name's Justin Chandler. I'm one of the pastors here at The Crossing, and I want to welcome you again to Celebration Weekend. Whether this is your first time being a part of The Crossing or you've been here for years, if you're exploring faith or you've experienced the life-changing ways of Jesus, one thing is true for all of us. We like to celebrate. Now, there's certain moments where we're more inclined to celebrate. It may be easier to celebrate some moments than others, but our hearts lean towards celebration. We may have been nurtured away from celebration. Life circumstances may have made it harder for us to celebrate, but our nature, the way that we're born, is to celebrate. One of my wife's favorite celebration moments is when baseball players win the World Series. It may be because our boys play baseball. It may be because she thinks boys playing baseball are the cutest. I mean, look at these two. Every year around October, she says the same thing. I mean, she's sanguine, but she says, oh, look at them. They're becoming like 12-year-old boys all over again. And as much as it pains me to do this, and it may pain some of you more, to remind us what it looks like when 12-year-old boys win the World Series, here's footage of the Dodgers winning the 2020 World Series. Actually, we're not at all playing that because I'm an Atlanta Braves fan and there's no way that I would play that video because I feel like the Braves were robbed in the NLDS. So if you want to watch that video, you can go hunt it down on YouTube yourself. But most likely, baseball is not your thing. I mean, one thing I do know is the way that celebration hits us all. It's what happens when we hear the first minute of Celebration by Kool and the Gang, right? Ba 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 na 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 woohoo! And some of you just woohooed on the other side. And as the song makes its way to the chorus, we prep the vocal cords and all of us start to sing, celebrate good times, come on. Bum, 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 bum. It's a celebration, right? You're already there. Some of you are either finding a way to play this in the background or you're thinking about pushing pause to catch a groove. I don't blame you if you did. I did. One of the things I've noticed as I've grown older, but more importantly as I've had children, is that there's certain things that are just in us. We don't do anything to put them there. They're just there. My inquisitive nature leads me to ask questions like, why are they there? Who put them there? What should I do with them once I recognize them? And as I've spent more time around communities of faith, my understanding of how Jesus, church, and the Bible answer this question has become more clear. One of the primary purposes for the Bible, and within it, is how God has entered into and interacted in human history. And as we look to the Old Testament, we see the way how God used the nation of Israel as a way to accomplish his purposes on the earth. And in doing so, there were a number of moments where God showed up in the most remarkable ways. And rather than letting these moments go by, God established yearly rhythms with the people of Israel to remember, not just so that the current generation wouldn't forget, but so that future generations would be told about those moments and remember as well. Passover celebrates the exodus from Egypt and liberation from bondage, the way God passed over his people, which ultimately led Pharaoh to let his people go. There's the Feast of Tabernacles, 5 days to remember God's deliverance of Israel from Egypt and the way he provided for them in the wilderness. The Feast of Weeks is the anniversary of God providing the Torah, the cornerstone of Judaism, to Moses on Mount Sinai. First fruits recognized God's redemption of the firstborn and the provision of God within the promised land. Purim commemorates the deliverance of the Jewish people within the Persian Empire from their cruel oppressor, Haman. And this is just to name a few. God established a rhythm with his people where celebration and remembrance were at the forefront, not because they had to, right? God wasn't looking down on them from heaven saying, you better remember and you better be grateful, right? Like the father who says, I hope you're happy with the gift I gave you. You better like it. Instead, as God established this rhythm to remember, this celebration came out on its own. And if you've spent any amount of time around church, more than likely you've heard the word testimony. If that word doesn't ring true for you within church, then you're probably thinking of a John Grisham book or movie or Law and Order, bong bong, right? If you hear the word testimony, in the legal sense, you think of someone who shows up to tell what they've seen or heard. They're to recall the facts and that testimony speaks to the truth. The heart of the word that we've come to know and read in the Bible as testimony is rooted in the phrase, do it again. It's the Bible's way of letting a word serve as a reminder and a prayer. That moment when God did at this moment, what we're remembering, and then we're asking that God would do it again. So we tell of God speaking because we want to be reminded that God still speaks and we need him to speak again. We tell of God providing because we want to be reminded that God still provides and we need him to provide again. We tell of God delivering because we want to be reminded that God still delivers and we need him to deliver again. It's why telling stories matters so much to us here at The Crossing and why your story matters to us too. The last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, anchors the belief of Christians that when Jesus came back from the dead, he didn't simply come back to life. He was resurrected to who he said he was, God's Son walking the earth, displaying who God is in all his power and glory. And in the book of Revelation, this is who we see Jesus as, triumphant over all things, making right all the things that have been wrong. And Revelation also looks to the future and to the things that are to come. And in the 12th chapter, it reads, everything is going wrong. Like all of the visuals that are brought to the forefront only seem to indicate that evil is winning. Verse 10 makes a very significant and surprising transition. Revelation 12, verses 10 and 11 read like this. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. See, the stage is being set for an epic battle, right? The battle between good and evil. The cosmic battle that many of us have seen depicted in nearly every hero movie created. You can even imagine the third act of Avengers Endgame, right? Thanos is gathering his forces, the Avengers have gathered theirs, but unlike the 45-minute battle at the end of the Avengers movie, this one ends differently. Like just as quickly as the opening scene of the Battle of Revelation begins, it ends. That a loud voice is heard saying that those who have been accused and oppressed by evil, those who have struggled in their life, those who day and night have heard all of the things wrong or against them, they're victorious. And how are they victorious? Not because they've found better weapons or they've learned how to fight, not because they grew stronger than their opponents. Their victory has nothing to do with them. And I want to read verse 11 one more time. And it says that they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. The triumph is in the blood of the Lamb, the victory of Jesus on the cross, the foundation of Christian belief. And all that Jesus has accomplished on our behalf, and all that Jesus has overcome, not because we did right or we did better, not because any of that made God love us, right? It didn't get us on his good side or finally outweigh, the good with the bad. Our victory is in Jesus. And the key word of our time together, the word that leads us to remember and celebrate, the word of our testimony, the do it again of our lives. That when we recall all that God has brought us through, we're able to say all that God will bring us through. So when you hear us talking about saying yes to Jesus, this is what we're saying yes to. We say yes to the belief that if Jesus has been able to overcome death, he can overcome anything in our life. We say yes to exploring faith, that even if we don't have the answers, there's something that's compelling us to try, to see if there is a God and if he is real, and what it would be like if he spoke to me. To continue to explore faith and to lean into moments with God. We say yes to experiencing the life-changing ways of Jesus. That as we've come to experience God as real, we see how the Jesus way of life can make a difference in our life. How it's not a pattern of behaviors, it's not ascribing to a belief system. Instead, our lives are absolutely transformed by following the way of Jesus. Then something special starts to happen, right? It's not just that we explore and we experience. It's not that we remember and we celebrate. It's the way that God enters into and interacts with our story. And it's found in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. So if you have a Bible, I want to encourage you to open up there, 2 Corinthians chapter 2. If you don't own a Bible, I'd encourage you to download our app, The Crossing CM, and when you click on the home button at the bottom of the screen, as you scroll down, you'll see a notes button. Each portion of what I share today will be included there. And before you get too worried and think, are we just getting started, right? We're this far in and we're just getting started. This is where the pieces are going to start to come together. So as Paul, the person who started this church in Corinth, writes another letter to the church he began, he reflects on what has become of his life up to this point, right? Having gone through many difficulties, having experienced a lot of hardships, he first spoke to this church about how God interacts within our troubles, specifically how we experience God's comfort in the midst of our trouble and suffering. Then comes one of my favorite visual images in the Bible, 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. They say this, "But thanks be to God, who always leads us as captives in Christ's triumphal procession and uses us to spread the aroma of the knowledge of him everywhere. For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing." Now, it wouldn't be hard for us to circle back to where we began and speak to triumphal procession, right? To show what has happened in so many victory parades following Super Bowls and World Series. I think that the short Dodgers clip at the beginning is enough for most of us, right? You can go find that again on your own. But instead, we'll go back to where this visual image originates from. The triumphal procession of the Romans was a sight to behold. If you've ever seen the movies Ben-Hur or Gladiator, you've seen a triumphal procession. Whenever the Romans conquered a new city or a region, they would take the captors and walk them back to their capital city. And being captured by Rome was considered good news, right? Though it may not have been good news for them, it was good news for the Romans. And they would create this incredibly lavish ceremony full of sounds and smells to let everyone know how good this news really was. And it'd be this full sensory experience for anyone along the parade route. A celebration had begun because the conquered were considered fortunate to now be a part of Rome, right? Welcome to the party. And despite the fact that they had just destroyed your army, and more than likely a significant portion of your hometown. Now imagine this scene that God is setting. God has come as the conqueror, one who's conquered us. He's brought us good news and set us free, but it isn't in the Roman sense. It isn't us becoming conquered and enslaved to a conquering army, right? That we're no longer free in our own hometown or country. Instead, God leads us in a triumphant procession in front of everything that has enslaved us, everything that's held us back, everything that stood in the way, everything we felt we didn't have the power to overcome, everything we could never move past, everything that's accused us. Jesus overcame. For you, for me, for I, we are the victory parade. And now as Jesus leads the celebration of what he's done, it becomes the sight and sound of triumph for everyone who's listening. God uses us to spread the aroma of the knowledge of him everywhere, which is such an interesting way to put it, right? The aroma or the smell of the knowledge of Jesus. If you've ever started cooking in your home, you know how that smell will start to make its way and find its way to every corner of your house, right? This is what God is doing. God uses us and all that Jesus has overcome for us to spread the knowledge of what God is doing in the world everywhere. What God is doing in you becomes the way that God begins to move in others. As God leads you in the victory parade over your life, that becomes the good news that others can overcome as well. We overcome by what Jesus has done and the word of our testimony, that as we share it, we're reminding others to remember and to celebrate. We tell of God speaking because we want to be reminded that God still speaks and we need him to speak again, right? We tell of God providing because we want to be reminded that God still provides and we need him to provide again. We tell of God delivering because we want to be reminded that God still delivers and we need God to deliver again. And as we're here for Celebration Weekend, I believe that you have a story to tell and your story matters to God and it matters to us. Whether it's the first steps you're taking and what you're beginning to think and feel as you explore, or it could be the way that you're experiencing the life-changing ways of Jesus, how following the ways and rhythms of Jesus have begun to transform your life. So what I'd love to do right now is even to lead you in a triumphant procession in the comments, for you to tell your story, that your testimony would begin to let others know that God has done it before and that God would do it again. That even now we could start to fill the comments with how we've explored faith, how we've experienced the life-changing ways of Jesus. And this little moment will literally spread the aroma of the knowledge of Jesus everywhere. And as our church has been inviting people to say yes for over 30 years, I want to invite you to do the same today in one of three ways. For some of you, you can already feel the triumph beginning to swell inside of you. That for the first time today, you're experiencing the very beginning of Jesus changing your life. That it was over 20 years where this happened to me for the first time, and I've never been the same. Or it could be that you're returning to faith, that it's part of the reason why you're viewing online today. And where you may have been familiar with faith, like this may be the first time in a long time where faith has felt real for you. I want to invite you to say yes to Jesus triumphing on your behalf today. So if you want to say yes to Jesus, either for the first time or you're making a return to faith as if it were the first time today, you can just type the number 1 or Jesus in the comments. Or maybe you feel like you haven't been triumphing. It feels like you've been triumphed over, or that the parade that you're a part of feels more like defeat than victory. I want you to see the stories of those that are already being shared above you. And maybe this could be the moment where God invites into your life and to say that he can do it again. That the testimonies of other people would be that do it again moment for your life. And if you want to say yes to your life being the triumphal procession of Jesus, that you can type the number 2 or do it again in the comments. For each of us, as God uses our lives to spread the aroma of the knowledge of God everywhere, not just in this moment, but in the moments to come, I want to invite you to share your story with someone. No matter how that person responds, like we overcome by what Jesus has done in our life and the word of our testimony. And sharing our story reminds us what God has already done and encourages us to believe that he'll do it again, to remind us of how far God has already brought us. So if you want to say yes to sharing your story, you can do that with someone that you know in your life. You can simply type the number 3 or testimony in the comments. And as you say yes in the comments, I want to invite you to take a moment to pray with me. So first saying yes to Jesus, the second saying that you want to see God do it again, and the third would be your willingness to share your story or your testimony. Let's pray together. Jesus, I want to thank you so much for today. I want to thank you, God, for the way that you're inviting us to celebrate. God, the way that you formed and made our lives to be celebratory by nature. God, even from our youngest days, we just lean towards celebration. And so, God, I pray that you would help us to break through any of the moments in our lives where it feels like we've set up walls against celebration, but that, God, we would be people who celebrate today. And God, I pray that even now, as we're starting to see in the comments, that we would be the people who celebrate what you're doing. God, for those who are saying yes to you for the very first time, God, are returning to a life of faith, Jesus, I pray that you would touch them in an incredibly powerful way with your love. God, in the same way that heaven touched earth as you arrived, God, would you touch this little place of earth and would you touch their life and heart today? God, for those of us who are believing that you can do it again, believing that all of the things that we're going through, that you could lead a triumphant procession against all of the things that are against us today. God, would you give us the strength to start walking and following you in the way that you overcome on our behalf? And God, for every one of us, would we see the way that you're bringing us forward? Would we see how far that you've brought us? And would we allow our lives to be the testimony and story that changes the lives of others? Would the aroma of the knowledge of you spread everywhere simply by our willingness to share? And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Over the next couple of moments, our band's going to sing this song called Goodness of God. And the heart of this song is really saying that God has been faithful to us all of our lives. And I pray that in this moment, no matter what you're experiencing as you're watching this video, that you'd be able to sing this song, that all of your life God has been faithful. And you'll sing of the goodness of God.
You, Lord, oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire and darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. The goodness of God, yes. And all my life you have been faithful. Yes, you have. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after. Oh, your goodness. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. You got your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Oh, yes. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing. All my life you have been faithful, Jesus. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Well, thank you so much for joining with us today and being part of our celebration weekend. It is so cool to hear story after story of how God is moving in each and every one of our lives. Now, I know for some of you, your next step is baptism. So if that's you, I want to encourage you, send us an email at info@thecrossing.com and we will help you take that next step and celebrate with you. Now, today there's one more thing we want to celebrate. And we have a brand new staff member joining us. So some of you know Josh Carmen, who was our student pastor, stepped into a brand new role as outreach pastor. And today I have with me my buddy RJ, who is our brand new student ministry pastor.
Yes.
Now, RJ, I don't know if you know this, but some of you watching do, is I spent about 10 years as a student pastor. And so, for me, I love student ministry games. And so I thought the best way to get to know you today is through a student ministry game. Are you in for this?
I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, sweet. So we're going to play a game called Spill or Fill Your Guts. And here's how it works. I'm going to ask you a question, and you got to answer truthfully, right? You got to tell the truth. Or if you want to pass, you can totally take a pass.
Okay.
But if you do, you got to fill your guts with something gross. So are you ready for that? We have some gross food here, so are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to start out easy for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here we go. First question for you, buddy. Just tell us 2 things about yourself.
So I grew up in Orange County, so I'm born and raised in Orange County. Went to school in Orange County, love Orange County, big Angels fan, Lakers fan. So love the area, love the city, and then also love food. So I'm pretty excited for this as well.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be much longer.
No?
But that's okay.
Okay.
But that's okay. So all right, next question. So why the crossing?
Well, I've been coming here since November, and so for me, just from the time of November till now, I've just fallen in love with the place. More specifically, just the mission, the service, and just everything that they're doing for the city. I feel like it's really compatible with me and just what I want to do.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, over the last few weeks, you've gotten to meet every staff member, right?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so who is your favorite staff member?
Well,
I'm standing right here. Also remember.
that's a good question. Everybody's been pretty good. I don't know if I can answer that.
That's all right. You don't have to answer
Okay.
that because we got our buddy Steve here who has a delicious food for you.
Okay.
So here's what we got for you. We have a seaweed salad topped with sardines.
Yum.
So take a couple bites
Okay.
and just enjoy. Whew, I can smell that over here.
Wow. I don't think this is supposed to be a combo, but here we go. Oh. I don't recommend that.
You know?
No.
Okay. All right, good. But dude, thank you. Good. I'll
Yeah.
give you a second to chew
Okay.
that up, and I'm going to ask you another question here, so I'll give you a couple seconds to
All right.
recover from sardines, which I've never actually eaten myself because they look disgusting.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Good. So here's another question for you. So what do you love about student ministries?
I just love the fact that just because in my life I've had a powerful impact as far as like with the students, and just it was a great time in my life just to really pay that forward. And so for me, just with the students, seeing them grow and just really develop relationships with God is just so necessary and just beautiful to see.
That's cool. And tell us a little bit, what do you like to do for fun?
I love going to the movies, so I'm a big movie fan. I have an AMC movie pass. Love watching sports, and then I'm trying to cook a little bit more,
Okay.
so I'm kind of liking it, but it's a work in progress.
Awesome. All right, so NBA fan?
Yes,
All right,
big
who do you root
Lakers
for?
fan.
Okay,
Big Lakers fan.
Okay,
Yeah.
So here is another question for you. Greatest NBA player of all time. And remember, I'm from Chicago. So, greatest NBA player of all time.
Okay, well, to answer the greatest is pretty tough because
Yep.
there's just so many guys that you have to factor in, right? You have Jordan, right? And
Okay.
then you have Kobe, you have LeBron, and then you have Magic and Kareem.
Okay, we're gonna time out on that one. The answer is right away Jordan, so we're gonna bring out another
Oh,
food.
no.
So if you can't answer, okay.
Oh,
Ooh,
man.
I don't even know what this is. This
Oh
is
my gosh.
gefilte fish topped with capers and garnished with parsley.
Wow.
So this looks pretty delicious. So
Is this food?
this is.
Let's see here. Now we get a little bit of everything. Oh no. Can it get cut? Oh, let's see here. We get a little, I think that's a carrot. Oh wow. That's horrible.
Is that bad?
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh yeah. Wow.
I can smell it. It smells.
You want some?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good. Here's some water
Oh
for
my
you.
gosh, thank you.
Oh man. Well, dude, you did a great job with this game. I loved it.
Appreciate it.
So, of course, man.
Cool. Well, I have some questions for you since you asked me some questions.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right? My question that I have for you is, of all the people on staff, who's the person that you're most excited to see on staff?
That's a tough question. I can't say myself. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So I would say I will have to pass on that because I can't answer
All
a
right,
favorite.
well,
I can't
we gotta
answer
bring
a
in some
favorite
food
staff
for you.
member. So,
All right, we have kimchi topped with ants.
ew. Okay. I've never had kimchi before.
Oh my gosh. That smell is something else right there. They kind of look like Oreos, but
Oh
they're
my
not,
gosh.
right? No? Okay.
I need some water, dude.
Yeah. All right. And then last question. We're going to make it an easy one.
All right, dude, that was like the worst thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. So you've embarrassed me because you handled yours so good, and mine, I just did such a bad job. You got to ask me one more question.
Are
You
you
gotta give
sure?
me one more shot. Yeah, give me one more shot.
Are you
dude.
ready for this?
No, I'm not. But
Okay,
go.
here we go. So, I've known Josh now for 20 years, and he's like my best friend.
Okay.
So, me or Josh as far as hanging out?
Well, I don't know, dude. After this last one, I don't know. But all right, I'll take the food because I
there
can't
we
choose.
go.
I
I was
can't
gonna
choose.
say, time's up.
All right,
All
I'm gonna
right.
do this one good too. All right, what do we got here?
So we have, for you, we have greens smoothie with kale and Carolina Reaper chili pepper.
Dude, I don't know what a Reaper chili pepper is, but that sounds horrible.
That is a beautiful color, by the way.
All right, Steve, get the water ready because I'm gonna need it. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
so
Whoa, I can smell
spicy.
that too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
All right, I can never play this game again. I can never play this game again. Oh, my gosh,
man.
everything's on fire. Everything's
You look red, and you're definitely on fire right now.
All right, we got to power through a couple of
Okay.
announcements. So, dude, next week is Father's Day. We have a great celebration. My eyes are starting to water, and I'm starting to tear up. So, tell us a little bit about what we're doing on campus for Father's Day.
So we have so many awesome and amazing opportunities. So at 9:15 we got maple bacon donuts for you, and then at 11:15 we have bacon wrapped hot dogs. On top of that, we're gonna have some lawn games and a
Nice.
special gift for all the guys, but not just fathers, and a ton more. So we're gonna be raffling away also a couple things too.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, like some Angels tickets I heard. So that's going to be great. Now, on top of that, we're kicking off a brand new series called Jump Cut. And I am so excited for this. So if you're in town, I want to make sure you join us on campus next week for Father's Day or online if you're not around. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you who give sacrificially to the crossing. You know, we couldn't have services like this. We couldn't support students and kids and do all we do in the community without people like you. So if you're ready to give for the very first time, I want to encourage you to go to thecrossing.com/give, and you can give your first time gift today. And thank you for being part of our church and being part of what God is doing here. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Oh my gosh, my lips are on fire. They are on fire.
We're leaving that back.
Yeah, that's staying all the way through to the end. Good job.
Great, thanks.
Dude, you did such a better job. I thought, like,
Oh, man.
that is so freaking spicy.